Say that again. Slowly, for the record. Every head turned. Marcus Reed stood beside window 6 with one hand protecting a creased DMV form, while his 8-year-old daughter, Nia, clutched ticket B417 against her yellow backpack. Across the glass, Victor Hale's finger was still aimed toward security. The woman in the worn coat placed a blue state badge beside the false interpreter form. Dad, Nia whispered. That paper says she said no. 3 hours earlier, the same office had smelled of burnt coffee, wet coats, and overheated printer plastic. Fluorescent lights hummed above rows of molded chairs, and every few seconds the number machine gave a bright electronic chime that made tired people look up with the same exhausted hope. Marcus sat near the aisle in his navy work jacket, his CDL renewal folder balanced on one knee. Nia leaned against his shoulder, tracing the black letters on ticket B417 with one small finger. The ticket had been printed at 10:12 a.m. Marcus had checked the time so often that the numbers felt carved behind his eyes. His commercial license expired at the end of the day. Without the renewal, the freight company could pull him from Monday's route. Without the route, he would lose a week's pay he did not have room to lose. Nia's health insurance payment was already folded inside an envelope on his kitchen counter, waiting for that paycheck. At window 6, a printer suddenly rattled. A narrow white slip curled into the tray beneath the glass. Customer declined interpreter. The woman standing there was still asking for help. She wore a faded brown coat buttoned unevenly at the front and held a canvas document folder close to her chest. Her Haitian Creole was careful but strained. She pointed to one section of the form and asked which box she needed to complete. Megan Price did not answer the question. She pressed a red stamp into an ink pad and brought it down hard. Incomplete. The sound cracked through the room. Next, Megan said, pushing the form back through the slot. The woman did not move. She tried again, softer this time. Marcus understood every word. She was not demanding special treatment. She was asking where to request language assistance. The board chimed. B417. Window 4. Nia sat upright. Dad, that's us. Marcus looked toward window 4. An employee had already raised a hand for him. Then he looked back at the woman, whose fingers had tightened around the edge of the stamped form. Megan was reaching for the next number. Marcus stood. He did not touch the woman's papers. He did not speak over her. He stepped close enough to be heard and asked in Creole, "Would you like me to explain what she just said?" The woman turned slowly. Her eyes moved over his work boots, the faded cuff of his jacket, then passed him to Nia holding B417. She studied him for one silent beat before nodding. Behind them, the board called Marcus's number again. Nia pulled gently at his sleeve. He glanced down at her, then toward the CDL folder still lying on his chair. "Stay right beside me," he said. Marcus translated Megan's statement exactly, then asked Megan who had offered the woman an interpreter and when that offer had been made. Megan's polite expression hardened only at the corners. "She declined assistance, sir. It's already in the system." "In what language was she asked?" Marcus said. Megan's hand stopped over the keyboard. Above her, the dome camera showed a steady red light. "Sir, your number is being called." Marcus looked at the board just as B417 disappeared and B418 replaced it. He had lost his turn. Megan exhaled through her nose and murmured, almost too quietly to hear, "People like this always pretend they don't understand." Marcus turned to translate, but the woman's hand had already tightened around her canvas folder before he said a single word. Marcus noticed the woman's fingers tighten around the canvas folder before he translated Megan's insult. For half a second, her eyes sharpened, then lowered again. She had understood something. Maybe not every word, he thought, but enough to know the contempt in Megan's voice. "Is there a problem here?" The question came from behind the glass doors marked staff only. A man in a white shirt stepped into the waiting area, smoothing one cuff as he walked. His silver nameplate read Victor Hale, supervisor. "No problem," Megan said. "This gentleman missed his number." "I was helping her understand the form," Marcus said. 3 voices, each controlled. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead while the printer fan pushed warm, plastic-smelling air across the counter. Victor's eyes moved from Marcus's worn work boots to the faded knees of his pants, then to the CDL folder on the chair behind him. "Mr. Reed, is it?" Marcus had not given him his name. Victor smiled as though he had simply read it from the room. "We appreciate citizens wanting to help, but third-party interference can create serious liability. Identity theft, fraud, incorrect filings. I'm sure you understand why we have rules." "Then call the interpreter line," Marcus said. "Sir, let us do our jobs. She's asking you to. You're disrupting service." Victor's tone never rose. That made every word feel heavier. He turned slightly, inviting the room to see him as the reasonable man cleaning up someone else's disorder. Behind Marcus, Brent Walsh folded his arms over a pressed quarter-zip sweater. "Some of us took time off work for this," he said. "A professional driver should know how a line works." Marcus felt Nia's small hand catch the hem of his navy jacket. She did not speak. Her yellow backpack rested against one leg, and B for 17 was still pressed flat against her chest even though their number had disappeared from the board. Victor glanced at the child, softening his expression. "You've been waiting a long time, haven't you, sweetheart?" Nia looked at her father instead of answering. Marcus crouched until they were eye level. The tile was cold beneath one knee, and the room smelled faintly of wet wool and copier toner. "You didn't do anything wrong," he told her quietly. "Stay close, and let me handle the grown-up part." Her fingers loosened around his sleeve, but not around the ticket. Marcus stood again with both hands visible. "Please don't involve my daughter in this." Victor gave a sympathetic nod. "I'm trying to keep this from becoming harder for her." He walked to Marcus's chair, picked up the CDL folder and carried it behind window 6. The blue cover looked small in his hand, but Marcus felt the movement in his chest like a door closing. Victor scanned the barcode. A soft confirmation beep sounded, and a code appeared on Megan's screen. State Route 9. Victor rotated the monitor away before Marcus could read the line beneath it. "What does State Route 9 mean?" Marcus asked. "Routine Supervisor Review." "Why is my license being reviewed?" "Because your participation in another customer's transaction may need clarification." I translated a question. "That is your interpretation." The words were polite enough for a training video. Victor slid the folder into a gray tray labeled Supervisor Review and placed a blank sheet over it, hiding Marcus's name. Celeste watched the folder disappear. She did not look grateful or relieved. Her gaze moved instead to Marcus's face, as if waiting for anger to expose a different man than the one who had offered help. Marcus drew one slow breath through his nose. Monday's route flashed through his mind. 5 stops, 2 states, enough pay to cover the insurance envelope on the kitchen counter. He did not mention any of it. "Show me the policy," he said. Victor's smile thinned. "Excuse me?" "The policy that says one customer can't explain a question to another. Put it in writing and I'll read it." Megan's fingers stopped over her keyboard. Brent gave a quiet, humorless laugh. "This is exactly the problem. People think because they drive a truck or watch a few videos, they understand government procedure." Marcus turned only enough to look at him. "I haven't said I understand your job." Then he faced Victor again. "I said she deserves to understand her paper." The woman in the worn coat looked down at the red incomplete stamp. Her thumb rubbed once across the rough edge of the canvas folder. Something in her expression shifted, not trust, not yet, but attention. Victor leaned closer, lowering his voice as though offering private mercy. "Mr. Reed, I am protecting your livelihood by asking you to stop. A security notation on a commercial license file can delay renewal, sometimes for weeks. I would hate for a misunderstanding to affect your ability to provide for your daughter." Nia heard him. Marcus knew because her breathing changed, quick and shallow beside him. He reached back without looking and rested his palm on the top of her backpack. "Then don't put a lie in the file that feeds my child," he said. For the first time, Victor's pleasant expression failed to settle properly. It vanished for less than a second, then returned. He tapped Megan's screen and murmured something she answered with a reluctant nod. Marcus caught only part of the line before Victor covered it with the cursor. Possible third-party interference. Below it was another entry already opened under his name, ending with 3 words that made the back of his neck go cold. Before escalation occurs. Marcus read the 3 words again before Victor moved the cursor away. Before escalation occurs. The phrase had been waiting inside his file before he had raised his voice, threatened anyone, or even touched the counter. He could have demanded an explanation. Instead, he looked down at Nia. Her shoulders were tight beneath the straps of her yellow backpack, and she was still holding B for 17 as if the small blue ticket could somehow keep their day from falling apart. "You hungry?" Marcus asked. Nia shook her head too quickly. He knew that answer. He reached into the side pocket of her backpack and found the last bottle of water, warm from the crowded room. Then he looked toward the woman in the worn brown coat. She had been standing for so long that one foot had turned slightly inward, taking pressure off the other. Marcus carried a molded plastic chair from the wall and placed it beside window 6. "Sit for a minute," he told her in Haitian Creole. "We can go through the form one line at a time." Megan gave a small laugh behind the glass. "He can play interpreter all afternoon if he wants. He already missed his number." Marcus did not answer her. He twisted the cap from the water bottle and offered it to the woman. She hesitated, glancing at Nia. "It's okay," Nia said softly. "I'm not thirsty." Marcus looked at his daughter. She was thirsty. Her lips were dry, and she had been asking for a drink 20 minutes earlier. But she gave the woman a small nod anyway. The woman accepted the bottle with both hands. "Thank you," she said in Creole. Marcus returned to his chair and picked up the old black notebook that had been tucked beneath his CDL folder. The cover was softened at the corners, and a strip of clear tape held the spine together. His wife had carried it through years of evening classes at the community center, filling the pages with translated phrases, phone numbers, and small reminders about how to explain government forms without making people feel ashamed. After she died, Marcus kept the notebook in his truck. Most days it stayed closed. Today, his thumb found the worn edge of a page almost by habit. He pulled the empty chair closer but stayed slightly to the side of the woman rather than looming over her. "I can tell you what each question means," he said. "But you decide the answer. I won't fill anything in unless you tell me exactly what you want written." She studied him. "Which box should I choose?" "I can explain what each box does." Marcus turned the form so both of them could see it. "This one says you are requesting language assistance. This one says you are choosing to use a private person instead. They are not the same. Choose the second," Megan called through the glass. "It will be faster." Marcus looked at the woman, not at Megan. Faster is not always the same as correct. He translated both choices fully. The woman took a slow drink of water and pointed to the first box. Marcus handed her the pen. He did not touch the form while she marked it. Celeste watched his hands more carefully than his face. She watched him move the pen away after each answer, watched him wait through her pauses, watched him refuse to turn her confusion into permission. Nia came closer and placed B 417 on his knee. "So we don't lose it," she whispered. Marcus folded the ticket once, then opened it again. The crease ran through the printed time, 10:12 a.m., but the numbers remained visible. He wrote 2 short Creole phrases on the back, the exact wording he had used to explain the form, then slipped the ticket beneath the notebook's cover. "You write everything down?" the woman asked. "Only what I might need to remember." "You think they will deny what happened?" Marcus glanced toward the red light on the dome camera above. Window 6. "I think people remember pressure differently once the pressure is gone." The woman reached into her canvas folder and removed several folded bills. She held them low where Megan could not easily see. "For your time," she said. Marcus closed her fingers over the money. "No. You lost your place because of me. I made that choice. Then let me help you get it back." Her English pronunciation on the last sentence was rough enough to pass unnoticed, but the structure was cleaner than before. Marcus heard the difference and dismissed it. Plenty of people understood more English than they felt safe speaking in a government office. "You don't owe me access to anything," he said, "and I can't sign as your official interpreter. If I do, they'll say the system worked because somebody in the waiting room fixed it for free." He pointed toward the phone on Megan's desk. A white label beneath the receiver read language access line. "They need to call that number." Megan's hand moved across the phone before anyone asked her to. "It doesn't work." "Since when?" Marcus said. "Weeks." "Then there should be a service ticket." "Sir, you are not authorized to inspect our equipment." "I didn't ask to inspect it." Marcus's voice stayed level. "I asked you to use it." Megan pulled the cord from the base and let it fall against the counter. "There. It's disconnected." Victor watched from the side with the patient expression of a man allowing someone else to embarrass himself. "Mr. Reed, this is what happens when good intentions outrun good judgment." Marcus looked at the phone. A small green light beside the words "last call" was still blinking. He did not point it out immediately. He turned back to Celeste and finished explaining the final section of the form. When she signed, he checked only that the signature sat on the correct line. He did not read the name above it. Then he stood and faced Megan. "Please create an official interpreter request." "I told you the line is unavailable." "Create the request anyway. Let the system record that she asked." Megan rolled her eyes and tapped the keyboard with 2 sharp fingers. "Fine." The printer beneath the counter awakened. With a mechanical click, a narrow strip of paper slid into the tray. Megan reached for it, but not before Marcus saw the words at the top. "Interpreter request received, 10:14 a.m. The green light on the supposedly broken phone blinked again, and Celeste looked from the printed time to the folded B, 4:17 inside Marcus's notebook. For the first time, her expression changed completely. The small act of kindness had just created a record the system could no longer pretend did not exist. Megan's hand closed over the interpreter receipt before the paper had fully cleared the printer. She folded it once and placed it beneath her keyboard, hiding the line that read "Interpreter request received, 10:14 a.m. "That proves the request went through," Marcus said. "It proves the printer works," Megan replied. "Nothing more." "Then give her a copy." The 3 sentences landed quickly, almost quietly. The fluorescent lights buzzed above them, and the red stamp pad remained open beside Megan's wrist, its wet surface shining like a small wound. Celeste held the water bottle in both hands and watched Marcus with a caution that had not disappeared simply because he had helped her. From where she sat, he was still a stranger with his own frozen license file, his own reason to challenge the office, and his own daughter waiting beside him. Kindness could be real and self-interest could still follow it. Victor Hale stepped between the printer and the glass, restoring his professional smile as if he had been invited to settle a minor billing dispute. "The slip is an internal routing document, Mr. Reed. Customers are not entitled to every piece of paper generated by our system. She's entitled to proof that she asked for help. She has your help. I'm not the service she requested." Victor's eyes moved briefly toward the waiting room. Several people had begun listening instead of scrolling through their phones. Brent Walsh checked his watch with exaggerated patience, but he no longer complained aloud. Victor lowered his voice. "You have already inserted yourself into one transaction and complicated your own. I suggest you stop turning ordinary administrative steps into accusations." Marcus did not reach for the hidden receipt. He took B417 from beneath the cover of the old notebook and laid it flat on the counter. The blue paper had softened from Nia's grip, and the crease ran directly through the printed time. "What time was the request entered?" he asked. Megan did not answer. "The printer showed 10:14, Marcus said. "This ticket was issued at 10:12. That means the request was created after we arrived and while she was still asking for assistance. Or it was an old job sitting in the print queue," Victor said smoothly. "That happens when equipment reconnects." It was a reasonable answer on the surface. Printers stalled. Networks delayed. Government computers froze. Celeste looked at the narrow machine beneath the counter, then at the blinking green light on the disconnected phone. Her expression gave Marcus nothing. She had spent years learning that one strange detail was not the same as proof. Systems failed in ordinary ways every day. People also saw patterns when they were frightened. Nia tugged gently at Marcus's sleeve. "Dad, can I mark our number?" she whispered. "So we know it's ours?" Marcus handed her the purple crayon from the front pocket of her yellow backpack. She drew a careful circle around B417, pressing so hard the wax caught on the rough paper. Then she returned the ticket to him and capped the crayon with both hands. It was the kind of thing an 8-year-old did to make a confusing adult problem feel organized. Marcus turned the ticket over and wrote 2 short lines beneath the Creole phrases already there. Requested language help. Told line unavailable. He added no accusation, only what he had seen. Victor's smile tightened. "You are writing operational claims on state property. It's a waiting ticket, issued by this agency. Then print me another one and take this with a receipt." Victor did not respond. Marcus angled B417 beneath the fluorescent light so the 1012 timestamp was clear. He looked at Megan, not Victor. Was that request printed before or after she asked for an interpreter? It was a simple question. The room slowed around it. A chair scraped near the entrance. The number machine chimed and called C203, but no one stood. Megan glanced first at Victor, then at the paper hidden under her keyboard. "I don't monitor the print queue by the second. That isn't what I asked." "Mr. Reed," Victor interrupted. "You are not conducting an investigation. I'm asking for the time on a receipt." Celeste shifted in the plastic chair. The canvas folder slid partly from her lap, and when she opened it to retrieve her reading glasses, the edge of a blue plastic card appeared between 2 tabbed documents. A gold state seal caught the overhead light for less than a second. Marcus saw it. Celeste saw him see it. Her fingers paused on the folder flap. She waited for his expression to change, for recognition, curiosity, calculation, or the sudden warmth people offered when they suspected influence. Marcus only moved the water bottle away from the edge of the chair so it would not fall. Then he turned back to Megan. He did not ask Celeste where she worked. He did not mention the card. He did not suggest that she might know someone who could release his CDL. That restraint unsettled Celeste more than flattery would have. It did not make her trust him yet, but it removed one easy explanation for why he was still standing there. Victor followed the direction of her hand and noticed the folder had opened. His gaze sharpened, though he could not have seen enough to identify the card. "This is becoming disruptive," he said. "We can finish the customer's paperwork in the East Consultation Hall, away from the crowd." Celeste looked toward the corridor he indicated. The hallway entrance sat beyond the edge of the dome camera's view. Marcus followed her eyes. Above window 6, the camera's red light remained steady. "You said the cameras don't retain small disputes," Marcus said. "They don't retain routine counter-conversations for any useful length of time. Then why move us away from one?" Victor's jaw flexed once before the professional expression returned. "Privacy. I am trying to protect the customer from further embarrassment." He had called Celeste the customer, not by name, though Megan's screen displayed the name from her application. It sounded courteous. It also allowed him to keep speaking about her while barely speaking to her. Marcus translated the offer exactly. Celeste listened, then replied in Creole. "Tell him the problem happened here. I will stay here." Marcus delivered the sentence without adding anything. Victor's eyes rested on Celeste for a long moment. "There is no need to make this public." "It already is," Marcus said. "You made that choice when the stamp came down." Behind the glass, Megan pulled the keyboard closer and brought up the interpreter request. The monitor was angled away, but the polished divider reflected part of the screen. Marcus could see the timestamp, a status line, and a user code. Megan scrolled too quickly. Victor stepped sideways, placing his shoulder between Marcus and the reflection. "The request timed out," he said. "No interpreter accepted it." Celeste's thumb stopped moving over the canvas folder. Marcus looked at the service poster mounted beside the window. In small print, It stated that remote requests remained active through a minimum waiting period before escalation. Less than a minute had passed between the printed request and Megan hiding the receipt. How long before a request times out? Marcus asked. It varies. Was it 1 minute today? The system determines availability. Then why did you say no interpreter accepted before checking the status? Victor's face did not change, but Megan's hand moved toward the corner of the screen as though she intended to close the window. Marcus shifted only enough to see the reflection again. Nia stood beside him, rolling the purple crayon between her palms. Celeste remained seated, her eyes fixed on Victor now, not Marcus. Megan clicked once. For a heartbeat, the full line appeared in the glass. Cancelled. User VH 04 10:15 a.m. Then the screen went dark. The dark monitor reflected Marcus's face back at him, but the line he had seen remained clear in his mind. Cancelled. User VH 04 10:15 a.m. Victor Hale rested one hand on the counter and gave a small, patient smile, as though the screen had gone dark because the conversation had simply reached its natural end. System codes are easy to misread, he said, especially from a reflection. Was VH0 for your login? Marcus asked. That is not information we discuss with customers. Did the request time out, or did someone cancel it? Mr. Reed, you are combining separate administrative events. The three replies came quickly. Then the room settled into a strange, thin quiet. A chair that had been dragging across the tile stopped halfway. The air conditioning vent above window 6 rattled softly, and somewhere behind the glass, a stapler clicked once. Celeste lowered her reading glasses onto the canvas folder in her lap. She still did not look convinced that Marcus understood everything he thought he understood, but she was no longer watching him as merely an angry customer. She was watching how carefully he stayed within what he could prove. Marcus did not call Victor a liar. He did not demand the computer be reopened. He placed B417 on the counter beneath the fluorescent light, the purple circle around the number bright against the worn blue paper. The request printed at 10:14, he said. The screen showed it canceled at 10:15. That is less than the minimum wait listed on your own poster. Victor glanced toward the poster beside the window. His eyes returned too quickly. The poster describes general service expectations, not every technical exception. Then print the exception. That would require an internal review. Do the review. Victor's smile did not disappear, but the muscles along his jaw tightened. He looked at Nia, then at the CDL folder hidden beneath the blank sheet in the supervisor tray. There may be a simpler way to resolve this without frightening your daughter or delaying anyone else. He opened the small gate beside window 6 and gestured toward a narrow consultation table inside the public area. It remained under the camera, though only at the edge of its view. Let's sit down like reasonable adults. Marcus translated the invitation for Celeste. She rose slowly, holding the canvas folder close to her coat. Nia stayed beside her father, her purple crayon tucked into one fist. Victor brought 3 chairs to the table, then returned carrying Marcus's CDL folder, 2 sheets of paper and a sealed apple juice box. From the employee break room, he placed the juice in front of Nia with a practiced kindness. You've been very patient, he said. Nia looked at Marcus before touching it. Marcus turned the box until he saw the small property of Riverton DMV Human Resources label on one side. It was not harmful. It was not even an improper gift. But the timing made it feel less like kindness and more like scenery Victor wanted everyone to remember. Marcus slid it gently back across the table. She has what she needs. Victor folded his hands. I am trying to help. Then help the woman who asked first. Celeste watched the juice box stop between the 2 men. Victor inhaled slowly through his nose, then unfolded the first sheet. It was a statement printed on official letterhead. Several fields had already been completed. The woman's transaction number appeared at the top. Below it, a checked box read Customer elected private language assistance. Another line stated that the customer had been offered agency-supported interpretation and had voluntarily declined. This form records that she chose to use you, Victor explained. If she signs it, we can finish her application immediately. I can also remove the supervisor hold from your CDL and restore your place in the queue. He turned the laptop beside him just enough for Marcus to see the state Route 9 code disappear from his file. The change happened with one click. Nia noticed her father's name return to the regular queue and let out a small breath. Does that mean we can go soon? She asked. Marcus placed one hand over hers. Not yet. Celeste leaned toward him and spoke in Creole. I am tired. If signing helps everyone, perhaps I should sign. Marcus read the statement from beginning to end. He did not summarize it. He translated the section claiming Celeste had been offered a certified interpreter, the section saying she understood the consequences of refusing one, and the line authorizing the office to close any related service complaint. Victor placed a black pen beside her hand. It is standard documentation. It says she received something she never received, Marcus said. It says she chose private help. After your employee said, the public service was unavailable. You volunteered. After she asked for the service. Victor leaned back, allowing concern to soften his face. Mr. Reed, you are a working father. I can see that. I am offering you a way to protect your license and let this woman complete her business. No one is being harmed. The statement remained between them, clean and smooth except for one new fold near the bottom. Marcus noticed a small printed code along the edge. Form LA-12, Revision 6. It was not a document created for this incident. It was a prepared form designed and approved for repeated use. That alone did not prove abuse. Offices kept standard waivers for legitimate reasons. But this one had been filled out before Celeste agreed to anything, and one field described Marcus as her chosen private interpreter even though Victor had never asked his name when the document was prepared. Marcus closed the pen and moved it beyond Celeste's reach. Before she signs, show her the record of when the interpreter was offered. That record is in the system. Show it to her. You are not authorized to request internal logs. She is authorized to understand what she is signing. A whisper near the waiting chair stopped. Even Brent no longer looked amused. The hum of the air conditioner became loud enough to hear between breaths. Celeste's hand rested flat on the canvas folder. Beneath her fingertips, something gave a faint electronic vibration, then went still. She did not reach inside. She only looked at Victor and waited. Victor tapped the form once. This is the solution available today. Marcus looked at his CDL folder, then at Nia. Monday's route was close enough to feel real again. He imagined the truck warming beneath the loading dock lights, the insurance envelope finally mailed, groceries bought without counting each item twice. All he had to do was let a stranger sign one sentence that was not true. He turned back to Celeste. If you sign this, the record will say the office did its job and you refused it. That is not what happened. I cannot tell you to sign. Celeste's eyes remained on him. Even if your license stays blocked? That is my problem. This paper would make it yours. Victor's fingers stopped tapping. The silence that followed was temporary but complete. Celeste slowly withdrew her hand from the pen. Marcus pushed the statement back across the table without tearing it, crumpling it or using it to embarrass anyone. Keep the form, he said. Keep the camera. Keep the timestamps. Just do not ask her to carry your mistake. Victor's professional expression held, but color rose along his collar. He turned the laptop toward himself and restored State Route 9 to Marcus's file. Then your renewal will require a 30-day administrative review. Nia's fingers tightened around Marcus's hand. He squeezed once, steady and warm, without looking away from Victor. Celeste opened her canvas folder just enough to slide the statement inside beside her own documents. She did not ask permission, and Victor did not object quickly enough to stop her. For the first time, she had preserved an original piece of the office's story. As Victor rose, Nia studied the form through the clear edge of the folder. Dad, she whispered. Why did he already have your part typed before he asked who you were? Marcus looked again at the printed description of a private interpreter, then at the revision code along the bottom. The paper had not been prepared to solve what happened today. It had been waiting for someone like him long before he walked through the door. The form had been waiting for someone like Marcus long before he walked through the door. He could see it now in the clean revision code printed along the bottom, the pre-written description of a private interpreter, and the blank space where any inconvenient citizen's name could be added later. It did not prove Victor had used the form dishonestly before, but it proved the lie had a structure. Marcus took out his phone and photographed only the public service poster beside window 6, careful not to capture another customer's information. "What are you doing?" Victor asked. "Calling the number your office posted. I have already explained that the line is unavailable. Then the recording will say so." Marcus dialed the language access line. He put the phone on speaker only after asking Celeste in Creole whether she was comfortable hearing the call. She nodded and rested the canvas folder across her knees, the unsigned statement secured inside it. The line rang once. A recorded voice offered language options. It rang a second time. Then a live operator answered. "State Language Access Center. How may I assist you?" The waiting room changed without anyone moving. Megan's hand stopped above her keyboard. Victor's pleasant expression remained in place, but one corner of his mouth tightened. Marcus gave the office name, the public location number from the poster, and the type of service Celeste had requested. He did not accuse anyone. He asked whether the line was experiencing an outage. Keys clicked softly on the other end. "No statewide interruption is reported," the operator said. "May I have the local request number?" Marcus read the number he had seen on the receipt before Megan hit it. There was a pause. That request was opened at 10:14 a.m. and closed locally at 10:15. "Was an interpreter assigned?" "No, sir." "Did the center cancel it?" Another pause, longer this time. "No." The local office canceled before routing completed. Victor stepped closer. "End the call. You are not authorized to discuss an unrelated customer's transaction." Marcus kept his voice even. "She is sitting beside me and gave permission." Celeste confirmed in Creole. Marcus translated her consent. The operator provided a reference code for the call. LA 8821. She also confirmed that no outgoing connection from Riverton Central DMV had reached the language center that morning. Marcus repeated the code once and wrote it on the back of B417 beneath the two Creole phrases. The purple wax circle around the number caught against the side of his hand. "Thank you," he told the operator, then ended the call. He did not smile. He did not look around to see who had heard. He placed the phone face down beside the ticket. "The line works," he said. "The request was canceled here." Victor drew a slow breath. A functioning statewide line does not mean this workstation was functioning. Technical failures occur at the local level. Then there should be a service report. There will be. From before today? Victor's eyes flicked toward Megan. It lasted less than a second, but Celeste saw it. She had been watching evidence, not personalities. A working public number did not prove intent. A locally canceled request did not prove a pattern. But Marcus had asked each question in a way that left room for an innocent answer, and each answer had made the office's explanation smaller. A uniformed security employee approached carrying a tablet. He was older than the first guard near the entrance, with reading glasses balanced low on his nose. "Mr. Hale, I was told there was a threat involving a commercial license applicant." Nia moved closer to Marcus's side. Marcus rested one hand lightly against her backpack. "No one threatened anybody," he said. Victor turned toward the guard with visible reluctance, as though Marcus had forced him to involve security. "Mr. Reed has repeatedly interfered with another customer's transaction and refused instructions to disengage. We opened a precautionary report before the situation escalated." The phrase struck Marcus with the cold precision of a repeated line. Before the situation escalated. The guard looked down at his tablet. Report opened at 10:16. Marcus looked at B417. The interpreter request had been printed at 10:14 and canceled at 10:15. Victor had not stepped out from the staff area until after Marcus's number disappeared from the board. Marcus remembered the scanner beep when Victor took his CDL folder. He remembered seeing 10:17 on the corner of Megan's monitor. "What time did Mr. Hale scan my license file?" Marcus asked. "That is not relevant," Victor said. "It tells us when he first handled my case." The guard scrolled. 10:17. "And the report says I threatened him at 10:16? "It says threatening conduct toward staff," Victor corrected. Megan was the reporting employee. Megan looked up sharply. Her lips parted, but no words came. Marcus did not turn on her. He placed B 417 beside his phone and the LA 8821 reference. At 10:14, the interpreter request was opened. At 10:15, VH04 canceled it. At 10:16, someone opened a security report. At 10:17, Mr. Hale scanned my folder. He looked at the guard. "Please read the times yourself. I don't need you to take my word for them." The guard studied the tablet. The printer beneath window 6 had gone silent. Even the number board seemed quieter between its electronic chimes. Sunlight had shifted across the front windows, leaving a pale rectangle on the tile where dust moved slowly through the air. Celeste's phone vibrated once inside the canvas folder. She did not answer it. Instead, she opened the folder and ran one finger across a row of numbered tabs. Marcus saw 1, 2, 3, then more behind them. At least 17. Between two sections sat a document bearing the same state seal he had glimpsed earlier. He could not read the heading, and he did not try. Victor wiped one thumb across the side of his index finger, a small nervous motion that did not match his controlled voice. "The security system clock may be 2 minutes fast." The guard looked at him. "This tablet syncs to the state network. Then the scan station may be slow." "That station also syncs to the state network," Marcus said. Victor's eyes sharpened. "You are not an information systems specialist." No, Marcus kept his palm on Nia's backpack. "I drive routes for a living. When the delivery log says a truck arrived before it left the warehouse, I don't need to build the clock to know the record is wrong." It was the first time he had mentioned his work as anything other than something the office could take from him. He did not offer it as expertise. He offered it as ordinary discipline. Time, sequence, proof. The guard asked Megan to reopen the security report. Her hand trembled once as she entered the screen. A list appeared before the report loaded fully. For less than 2 seconds, several rows were visible beneath a heading marked Language Assistance Dispositions. Each row carried a date, a transaction number, and the same closing phrase. Customer declined. At the far right, the user column repeated one code again and again. VH04. Megan scrolled too quickly, but not before Celeste counted enough lines to know today was not alone. The canvas folder lowered slowly onto her lap. Whatever doubt remained in her face did not disappear because she pitied Marcus. It changed because a public phone record, an independent security timestamp, and a repeated user code had begun telling the same story. Victor reached across the desk and closed the list. "That screen contains protected customer information." "Then preserve it," Celeste said in English before catching herself. The words were clear, controlled, and unaccented. Marcus turned toward her. She looked down immediately and repeated the request in Creole, but the room had already heard the difference. Victor stared at her more closely. Recognition did not arrive, but caution did. "Ma'am," he said, choosing each word, "we can discuss your concerns privately." Celeste placed one hand over the folder's numbered tabs. "No," she replied through Marcus's translation. "I want the original request, the cancellation record, and the form you asked me to sign." Victor's gaze shifted to B417. "That ticket now contains internal reference information. Security should retain it with the incident file." The guard reached halfway toward the counter, then stopped when Marcus covered the ticket with 2 fingers. "I will hand it over with a written receipt showing the time, the reason, and the name of the person taking it," Marcus said. "Otherwise it stays with my daughter. You are withholding agency property." It is a waiting ticket with her crayon on it. It now contains data from an internal transaction. Data your public operator just read aloud. The guard looked from Victor to the blue ticket. Nia did not speak. She only held the purple crayon against her palm and watched the adults decide whether something small enough to fit in her pocket could be dangerous. Victor's mask remained intact, but his control did not. He pointed toward the east hallway beyond the camera's view. This discussion is over. Move Mr. Reed and the customer away from window 6. The guard did not move immediately. Neither did Megan. Celeste closed the canvas folder over 17 numbered tabs, and Marcus understood that the truth had become too large for any private room Victor controlled. Victor Hale did not raise his voice when he ordered them away from window 6. He did something more effective. He reached for the public address microphone beneath the counter, pressed the button, and let the soft chime gather every face in the room. Ladies and gentlemen, window 6 is temporarily closed due to a security concern. Please remain seated while staff restore normal service. The words were calm, almost reassuring. They turned Marcus from a father holding a waiting ticket into the reason an entire office had stopped moving. A red closed light appeared above the window. Megan lowered the shade halfway, leaving only a narrow band of glass between the waiting room and the counter. Victor stepped through the side gate with the older security officer behind him. Mr. Reed, he said, I am giving you one final opportunity to leave voluntarily. Your daughter does not need to watch this become an enforcement matter. Marcus stood beneath the dome camera with Nia close behind his right shoulder. His navy work jacket had creased across the elbows, and fatigue had settled into the lines beside his mouth. He did not look like a man arriving to win anything. He looked like a man who had lost his place in line, lost control of his license file, and had decided that losing one more thing would be worse than staying. What enforcement matter? He asked. Repeated interference with another customer's transaction. She asked for help. You continued after being instructed to stop, because the office recorded that she refused help before anyone offered it. Victor turned toward the room, not Marcus. This is exactly why customers should not interpret internal screens, partial receipts, or security procedures without context. Mr. Reed saw several unrelated administrative codes and formed a conclusion. We have tried to resolve this privately. He has declined. The explanation was clean. It gave every observer a comfortable place to stand. Computers produced confusing codes. Customers misunderstood. Supervisors protected privacy. Even the 1016 report could be explained as a preliminary incident opened by an employee before Victor arrived. Brent Walsh shifted near the chairs, his earlier embarrassment easing as the story became simpler. That sounds reasonable, he murmured. A woman near him nodded. Victor saw the movement and continued. The interpreter line may function statewide while a local terminal fails. A request may be canceled if the workstation cannot complete routing. A security note may be opened before a supervisor personally engages. None of those things proves misconduct. For one long moment, it seemed as though he had taken back the room. The air conditioner rattled overhead. The board called D109 at window 3, and this time someone stood. People began moving again, grateful for permission to believe the disturbance had an ordinary explanation. Marcus looked at Celeste. She remained beside the consultation table in her worn coat, the canvas folder held against her ribs. Her face showed no rescue, no invitation to keep fighting. If anything, she looked more guarded than before. She was waiting to see whether Marcus would fill the gaps in his evidence with anger. He did not. He walked to the counter slowly and placed B417 beneath the strip of open glass. The purple crayon circle was visible around the number. This was issued at 10:12, he said. Victor glanced down. A waiting ticket does not explain system operations. Marcus placed his phone beside it and turned the screen so the language access reference code could be read. At 10:14, the state line received the request. We have established that. At 10:15, page 04 canceled it locally. Assuming you read the reflection correctly. Marcus took the old notebook from his jacket and opened it to the page where he had written LA 8821. The operator confirmed the local cancellation. The security officer's eyes moved from the ticket to the phone. Victor's voice stayed measured. The call center operator cannot determine what happened at this workstation. No, Marcus said. She can only say what did not happen. Nobody here called them. A chair leg stopped scraping. The number board chimed, but the room did not fully return to its former rhythm. Marcus placed no accusation beside the evidence. He only allowed each item to narrow the space where Victor's explanation could survive. Victor folded his arms. Even if the call was mishandled, that does not excuse your conduct. Then show the conduct. It is documented. The report opened at 10:16 by an employee who felt threatened. Marcus looked toward Megan through the narrow band of glass. Her face was pale beneath the fluorescent light. Did I threaten you at 10:16? Victor stepped between them. You do not question my staff. I asked one question. She is not required to answer you. The second retention turn moved through the room quietly. Victor had said the report came from an employee who felt threatened. Now he would not let the named employee say what she had seen. Marcus turned to the older security officer. Read the report's first sentence. Victor's hand lifted. That document contains confidential information. About me. About staff. The officer looked down at his tablet. He did not read the entire line, only the opening phrase. Subject continued aggressive interference after direct warning from site supervisor. Marcus nodded once. What time does it say the supervisor warned me? The officer scrolled. His brow tightened. The entry does not give a separate time. When did Mr. Hale scan my CDL? 10:17. When did he come through that door? Marcus pointed to the staff-only entrance without turning his body away from the camera. Brent's face changed. He had been standing behind Marcus when Victor first appeared. Several people had. It was after the number changed, Brent said before seeming surprised by his own voice. B417 was already gone. Marcus did not thank him dramatically or use the statement to shame him. That is all I'm asking people to do, he said. Remember what they actually saw. Victor's gaze settled on Brent with the cold disappointment of a man noting a future inconvenience. Memory in a crowded office is unreliable. Then the camera can settle it, Marcus said. Victor's answer came too quickly. The camera does not record audio. I asked about time. The security officer looked up at the dome. Its red light reflected in the window glass. Celeste's fingers slowly relaxed around the canvas folder. She was no longer studying whether Marcus was right. She was studying how he used being right. He had not turned Brent into an enemy, Megan into a target, or Nia into a symbol for the crowd. He had asked for sequence, not sympathy. Victor pressed his lips together, then changed direction. The office will review footage through proper channels. Until then, Window 6 remains closed, and Mr. Reed must leave. He reached toward B417. Nia stepped forward only far enough to place her small hand over the ticket. Dad said we need a receipt, she whispered. The sentence was not defiant. It was the careful repetition of an instruction an 8-year-old had been trying very hard to remember. Marcus rested his hand beside hers. She will hand it over when someone signs for it. Victor looked at the child, then at the people watching. He withdrew his hand. This is government property. Then receiving it should be easy to document, Marcus said. Behind the glass, Megan's breathing had become visible in the rise and fall of her shoulders. Victor turned to her. Print the property receipt. Megan did not move. Ms. Price. Her fingers settled on the keyboard, but instead of opening the receipt form, she looked at the closed interpreter record. I was told to close it as declined, she said. The room seemed to lose its background noise. Victor's expression did not collapse. It hardened into something smaller and more careful. You were told to follow disposition guidance. I was told to use declined, because the customer chose private assistance. Megan looked at Marcus, then at Celeste. He wasn't helping her when I closed it. Victor took one step toward the gate. Megan, stop speaking outside procedure. Celeste watched him cross in front of the camera and then glanced toward the east hallway again. He was no longer trying to explain the record. He was trying to separate the people who could connect it. Marcus placed the unsigned form beside B417, then the phone displaying LA 8821, arranging the evidence in one straight line where the camera could see it. "I'm not asking anyone to punish you here," he told Megan. "I'm asking you not to bury the truth one more time." Victor turned sharply. "This office cannot stop for every person who arrives unprepared. People like her are responsible for bringing someone who can speak for them." Behind him, the language access poster hung in plain view. The sentence landed harder because he spoke it softly. Celeste's eyes lifted to the poster, then to Marcus's open hands, then to Nia standing behind her father with the purple crayon still curled in her fist. When the security officer reached toward Marcus's shoulder, Nia breathed, "Dad." Celeste straightened. Her tired posture vanished. She stepped into the narrow space before window 6 and answered Victor in clear, unaccented English. "Say that again." Slowly, for the record. Victor froze. Something like recognition moved across his face. Celeste opened the canvas folder, but instead of reaching for the blue state badge, she removed a 6-month-old complaint bearing the same code printed across today's cancellation. Page 04. Celeste laid the 6-month-old complaint beside B417, then removed a second file, a third and a fourth. Each carried a different name, a different date and the same closing code. Page 04. The room did not understand yet, but Victor did. His hand moved toward the public address microphone as if he could restore order by speaking first. Celeste reached into the canvas folder and placed a blue state badge on the counter before he touched it. State Commissioner of Motor Vehicles, Dr. Celeste Baptiste. The gold seal caught the fluorescent light. Marcus stood perfectly still. Nia's fingers closed around the back of his jacket. Behind the glass, Megan's pen slipped from her hand and rolled until it struck the metal base of the printer. "Commissioner," Victor said. His voice had gone dry. "I did not realize you were conducting a site visit. You were not supposed to." Celeste turned the badge so the camera above window 6 could see it. Then she looked at the older security officer. "Remove your hand from Mr. Reed. Preserve the footage from this window beginning at 10:12 a.m. Do not allow anyone to log out, alter a record, or remove paper from this station." The officer stepped back from Marcus immediately. He touched the radio clipped to his shoulder and requested a central evidence lock on window 6. Victor lifted both hands in a gesture of reason. "Commissioner, this has become a serious misunderstanding during an unusually high-volume period. We can review the records in my office." "No," Celeste said. "The problem happened in public." The same sentence she had spoken through Marcus now landed in her own clear voice. She opened the remaining tabs inside the canvas folder. 17 complaints lay arranged by date. Some were typed. Some were handwritten. One had been translated from Spanish. Another came from the adult son of an elderly woman who spoke Vietnamese. The details varied, but the sequence repeated with unsettling precision. A customer requested language assistance. The office marked the customer as having declined it, and any protest became a note describing the person as disruptive, aggressive, or unwilling to cooperate. These complaints came from people who could not prove what happened after they left this building, Celeste said. Today's form was prepared according to the public instructions on your own website. The box your employee stamped incomplete was completed correctly. Megan looked at the red stamp pad beside her hand. Its lid remained open. The ink had begun to dry around the edges. Victor forced himself to look at the files rather than the badge. "Complaints are allegations. They are not findings." "Correct," Celeste said. "That is why I came for evidence." She pointed to B417. The queue system issued this ticket at 10:12. Her finger moved to Marcus's handwritten reference. The Language Access Center received an interpreter request at 10:14. She placed the narrow printout beside it. The request was canceled locally at 10:15 by user VH04. Then she looked at the security officer's tablet. A report labeling Mr. Reed a threat was opened at 10:16. Victor's eyes shifted toward the camera. The report was precautionary. Your first documented contact with his CDL file occurred at 10:17. Celeste's finger moved to the gray tray where Marcus's folder remained beneath the blank paper. And the footage will show you entered the public area at 10:18. She let the times remain on the counter without raising her voice. Paper, ink, and a child's purple. Crayon had created a timeline no title could outrank. Victor swallowed. The security clock may not match the service system. The older officer shook his head. Both sync to the state network. Then the scan station may have lagged. It did not, Celeste said. She removed a small state-issued phone from the folder and placed it beside her badge. My office received confirmation from the Central Systems Administrator while we were standing here. All 5 clocks were synchronized within 1 second. That was the moment the room changed. Brent lowered his head. A woman near the entrance slowly put away the phone she had been pretending to read. Behind the glass, Megan gripped the edge of her desk with both hands. Victor's face did not collapse into panic. It simply lost the expression he had worn for everyone else. You came here expecting to find a failure, he said. No, Celeste opened the oldest complaint. I came looking for a system. You gave me a pattern. She asked the security officer to lock 5 data sources. The Windows 6 camera, the Q-log, the language access line history, the VH04 account, and Marcus's CDL record. Then she asked Megan to reopen the disposition screen. Megan hesitated. Victor turned toward her. Do not access protected records without counsel. Ms. Price, Celeste said, you are not being ordered to confess. You are being instructed not to destroy or alter evidence. You may request representation. You may also decide whether you will continue allowing another person to speak for actions performed under your login. Megan stared at the monitor. Her breathing became shallow. Then she entered her password. Rose filled the screen. Customer declined appeared again and again beside the same user code. Victor stepped closer. That account was shared for supervisory functions. Celeste looked at the older officer. Authentication method? He checked his tablet. 2-factor verification. Registered to Mr. Hale's state-issued phone. Victor's hand moved instinctively toward his pocket, then stopped. The motion was small, but everyone saw it. Megan opened an email folder and selected a message with the subject line language disposition. Targets. He told us pending interpreter requests hurt the office's service score, she said. Her voice nearly failed on the last word. If the wait went too long, we were supposed to close them as customer declined. Victor looked at her with something colder than anger. You are mischaracterizing performance guidance. Megan clicked the message. The text appeared on the screen in plain black letters. Do not leave language requests unresolved. Convert stalled requests to customer declined before end-of-day reporting. Celeste did not celebrate. She asked for the full email chain to be preserved and reminded Megan that cooperation would not erase her responsibility. Then she turned to Victor. Effective immediately, your access to DMV systems is suspended. You will surrender your badge, workstation credentials, and supervisory keys, pending an independent administrative investigation. No handcuffs appeared. No one dragged him through the room. The older officer held out a clear evidence envelope. Victor removed his access card and placed it inside. His fingers shook only once, when the plastic caught against the opening. The number machine chimed. B418 window 2. No one moved. The hum of the lights became suddenly loud. The printer cooled with a faint ticking sound. Megan's abandoned pen rested against the metal tray. Victor looked at B417 lying beside Celeste's badge and seemed unable to decide which object had taken more from him. Nia released a breath and leaned against Marcus's arm. He looked down first, checking her face, her hands, and the straps of her backpack. Only then did he look at Celeste. What happens to the people in those files? He asked. Not his CDL. Not his lost route. Not whether Victor would be fired. The people in the files. Celeste's expression softened for the first time that day, though the authority in her voice remained. Every one of them will be contacted. Their cases will be reopened, and every retaliatory notation will be reviewed. Marcus nodded once. Good. Celeste looked at him more carefully than she had when he first spoke Creole. She had watched him lose his place, risk his livelihood, and refuse the easiest path back. Now, with power finally standing on his side, he still did not ask for special treatment. Your hold can be cleared today, she said. Marcus rested 2 fingers on B417. Clear it because the record is wrong. Not because I helped you. The room went silent again, but this silence felt different. It was not shock. It was recognition. Celeste gave a slow nod. Because the record is wrong. She then faced the waiting room and acknowledged something no badge could excuse. This inspection should have ended the moment an uninvolved citizen faced retaliation. Mr. Reed and his daughter should never have been placed in danger to prove what this office was doing. Nia looked up at Marcus, still holding the purple crayon in one hand. The truth had been recognized. The system had finally stopped moving against him. But as Celeste ordered the first files preserved and the first names contacted, a harder question remained. Now that Marcus had been offered recognition, access, and a voice inside the system, what would he choose to do with them? The waiting room emptied more quietly than it had filled. People collected coats, folders, and half-finished cups of coffee without looking toward window 6 for too long. Brent Walsh paused beside Marcus, opened his mouth, then closed it again. The apology he had not yet earned remained somewhere behind his teeth. Victor Hale left through the staff door without handcuffs or shouting, accompanied by the older security officer and a representative from the state compliance office. His access badge rested inside a clear evidence envelope. Megan stayed at her desk while an investigator copied the email chain and sealed the original interpreter form. Before Celeste left, she ordered the state Route 9 hold removed from Marcus's CDL record. But Marcus waited until the clerk printed the correction showing why it had been removed. Not commissioner override, he said. Administrative error. Celeste understood. The new page came through the printer with a soft mechanical hum. Record corrected. Hold entered without supporting cause. Marcus read every line before placing it inside his folder. Nia stood beside him with B417 and the purple crayon tucked safely into the front pocket of her yellow backpack. Are we in trouble anymore? She asked. Marcus crouched and zipped the pocket closed. No, baby. And none of this was yours to fix. Her shoulders lowered for the first time that day. The correction restored Marcus's place in the process, but the DMV had already closed its commercial license desk for the afternoon. Celeste offered to have the renewal completed through her office. Marcus shook his head. Open the desk tomorrow and put me where I should have been. I don't need to go ahead of anyone. The next morning, Marcus returned before sunrise. No cameras waited outside. No state sedan pulled up beside him. He wore the same navy work jacket and carried the same worn notebook. His renewal was processed in the position the Q log showed he had lost. The delay forced him to miss Monday's freight route, but the state later reimbursed the lost wages through its administrative claims process. Not as a gift, but because the wrongful hold had caused a measurable loss. 3 weeks later, the Transportation Committee convened at the state capitol. The chamber smelled of polished wood, old paper, and coffee from silver urns placed near the rear doors. Marcus sat beside Nia in the second row, not at the witness table until his name was called. Celeste testified first. She did not present herself as the woman who had rescued a struggling father. She described the 5 systems that confirmed the timeline and acknowledged where her own judgment had failed. The inspection should have ended when Mr. Reed became the target of retaliation, she said. No investigation is ethical if an uninvolved citizen and his child are left carrying its risk. The independent review identified 43 transactions requiring correction. 17 matched the complaints in Celeste's folder. Every affected person received notice in the language used on the original application. Fees were waived. Retaliatory notes such as disruptive, uncooperative, and customer refused assistance were removed when the evidence did not support them. Victor lost his supervisory position after the administrative hearing concluded that he had manipulated language access dispositions, and used security reporting to discourage challenges. The data alterations were referred to the State Inspector General. No one turned his removal into theater. His name simply disappeared from the office directory after the process was complete. Megan appeared before the committee without her DMV name tag. She admitted that she had followed Victor's instructions because she was afraid of losing her job and had chosen that fear over the people at her window. Marcus did not ask for her dismissal. He also did not tell the committee that fear excused what she had done. A second chance should mean she has to do the second part differently, he said. Megan was reassigned away from public service while she completed restorative training, cooperated with the investigation, and underwent an independent review before any return to customer contact. She later met Marcus and Celeste in a small conference room and apologized without explaining herself first. Marcus accepted the apology but did not erase the boundary. "Make it true for the next person," he told her. Brent returned voluntarily to confirm that Marcus had never threatened anyone. His voice shook when he admitted that impatience had made him treat another person's difficulty as though it were a moral failure. He did not become Marcus's friend, and Marcus did not need him to. The truth only required him to say what he had seen. Celeste invited Marcus to join the new Language Access Community Council. He read the proposal at his kitchen table after Nia had gone to bed. The envelope containing her insurance payment still sat near the fruit bowl, now stamped and ready to mail. He agreed on one condition. The council could not be filled only with attorneys, executives, and agency officials. Seats had to be reserved for drivers, caregivers, ESL teachers, disabled residents, and people whose files had been corrected. Celeste accepted without negotiation. "I am not asking because you speak Creole," she told him. "I am asking because you knew the difference between helping someone and taking over their choices." Marcus looked down at the notebook his wife had left behind. On one page, in her narrow handwriting, she had written, "Explain the choice. Never take the choice." He kept the notebook. He did not donate it, frame it, or hand it over to the state. But with his permission, that sentence became the first line in the new language access training guide. Months later, Riverton Central DMV opened a permanent support station near Window 6. B417 was pressed flat inside a small glass frame. The purple circle remained visible on the front. Marcus's 2 Creole sentences remained on the back, reproduced beneath it. The plaque did not mention Celeste's title or call Marcus a hero. It read, "A person should not need power to be heard." Marcus and Nia returned on a gray Tuesday afternoon to collect his final plastic CDL card. As they waited, an older woman approached the service desk holding a form upside down. The employee behind the counter did not point toward a chair or tell her to bring someone who spoke English. She picked up a tablet, stepped out from behind the glass, pulled over a chair, and sat at the woman's level while an interpreter appeared on the screen. Nia watched in silence. Then she looked toward the framed ticket. "Dad, if you knew Ms. Celeste ran the whole DMV, would you have helped her differently?" Marcus slid the new license into the worn notebook and zipped his jacket. "No, baby. The person who needed help was already important." Nia took his hand. For a few seconds, neither of them moved. The office continued around them. The low hum of lights, the soft scrape of chairs, the gentle chime of another number being called, but no one was being ignored. Marcus and Nia walked out without applause, carrying no prize except the life he had protected and the truth he had refused to trade. Behind them, a small blue ticket rested under glass. No longer proof that someone had lost his place, but proof that quiet kindness can hold its ground long enough for justice to find it.